I've just been to see something exciting. I've just been to see what happened to the Earth. What did happen to the Earth? Aurora doesn't actually really talk about it in the show. I was a bit surprised. I was expecting a little more, ecological chat, but there was quite a lot of political chat, I suppose. About managing to find a load of weirdos all around the world, which is of course nice. Yes, it was a great set, I think, to be honest, and I have been meaning to check what was taken out of the broadcast, because I imagine that it is not the same length, because it was a little short, I thought. Let me just check what happened to the heart. But in Fine Fatal, a slightly lower version of The River was second, which was really nice. It was with all four of the band plus Aurora. It was really quite a small band, but there you go. And they were all singing together with no backing. So that was a quite nice rearrangement of what was going on. Yeah, okay, so since September 2024, wow, that's a big, long time ago. Then again, this was filmed for a long time ago, wasn't it? Goddess of Dusk, yeah, so this I guess new piece, but it's just accompanying this video at the beginning, so it's not really a whole song. Churchyard was very exciting. I think that's a really good opener, isn't it? If you think about just getting people energetic straight at the beginning, Churchyard is definitely one of the ones to do that. But interestingly, like, Churchyard itself starts quite softly with not much going on, but then it really does get going later on, doesn't it? And with a lot of like sing-alongy bits as well. So then we had The River, but it says Soulless Creatures here, which is interesting and annoying that I missed that. Very sad. But yeah, a version of The River was actually what we got in that. Then we got A Soul with No King, which was really good, and it's interesting because it's a massive stage, and Aurora's very small, and the band is quite small, so they don't take up a large amount of space. But in some of the more like groovy songs, with bigger atmosphere in the middle, it really does make that space feel very special, and The Soul with No King really did feel special in that kind of way. It felt like going on a journey in a way that the studio recording doesn't necessarily feel. We didn't get Murder Song. What did we get? We did get something in between A Soul with No King and Heathens. Let me just check what it was, because I wrote down as much as I could remember of the oh no, actually nothing in between Soul with No King and Heathens, so we probably missed Murder Song, which is a bit of a sad one. Heathens was really good though, and similarly, right, the strange, very, very intimate bridge going, give yourself to, everyone's screaming, which, a little bit of a faux pas. Keep it down, let that last note come out, him, and then it all just massively kicks off. Very exciting, very powerful. Good bit. And then the Forbidden Fruits of Eden as an intro for Dark Dresses Lightly. Very interesting choice. I wasn't expecting the Dark Dresses Lightly at all on here, but it is another one with sort of big acoustic spaces in the studio recording, and when you do those live, it's just filled with electricity, with people talking, no doubt, but also moving, and all that extra noise just makes this ambience feel a whole lot more exciting than on the record. Because I think broadly the recording of The Dark Dresses Lightly doesn't quite work for a few reasons, and one of them is because it has this big vast space that is unfilled. But in the live setting, it really is nice, really exciting. I would say that Aurora doesn't quite end it in the as exciting a way as the studio recording, but it's still pretty great. And then Exist for Love, and my, don't want to cause any spoilers, but some special stuff kicked off in the Exist for Love that came there. Then Dreams was really nice. I think Dreams felt a bit more meaningful to me in that context. Maybe that's just because I can see members of the audience really responding to it deeply. I don't know, but it's one of the more intimate ones, and doing it in that kind of scale again makes it very, very different, but in much less of a like electric, exciting way, and much more of a combined experience of catharsis or something like that. And then we didn't have Echo of My Shadow. We did have The River. You know what? I think they just repurposed The River happening there and put it earlier, sadly, to miss out Soulless Creatures. That's super sad, because I remember there is a little bit of a questionable edit at some point around there, but Dreams goes straight into Runaway, and Runaway version is slightly different to the studio recording. It feels a little more peppy, a little more dancey, and it has a guitar at the beginning as opposed to the voices going so a little bit more in line with the ensemble that the rest of them have, the more modern ensemble, I guess. Then we had The Seed. We did have The Seed, and The Seed was very, very good. Always a big hit of that one, I think, isn't it? And that one really played with the space coming down in the bridge for that massive, and then just building. I'm reliably informed that missing the Royal Albert Hall performance of that is a mistake on my end, but I did, sadly. Then we did not go straight into Starvation. We actually had The Blade, and cool. The Blade is great. Really enjoyed The Blade. And The Blade, it did actually take me a bit by surprise having Starvation and The Blade switched, because on the record we go from Starvation into The Blade, but here Starvation came later, and Starvation didn't have the same like marching drum thing. There wasn't something as complicated as that going on in the drums at the beginning, or at least if it was kind of lost on the cinema speakers. But it felt a little bit different, and I thought it was something I didn't recognize, but I eventually worked out what it was. But both of those have this vibey section where we can just freak out, and it feels like this big journey going on stage, which is really fun. We didn't get Queendom, which I'm kind of interested by. I don't really like Queendom, which we may get to today, but it wasn't in the recording. And then she goes, "Here's the last song, Giving Into Love," and we all know that's not going to be the last song. Come on. There's a British band who I have covered on the channel, actually, called The Lovely Eggs, and on their website they have a beautiful old page which is unnecessary, but basically says, if you come across a band who are waiting in the wings after they've said, all right, that's the end, waiting in the wings to come back on, just go, nah, well, you're all right, and walk off. Don't just clap sycophantically for them to come back on again. It's a farce. But that's what most people do, isn't it? Yeah, and only one round of encores though, which for a big gig like that, I would have. I don't know. I mean, I saw Prince once, and Prince played 4 rounds of encores, and he was kind of by the last time a little bit annoyed with the audience, and he was going, Manchester, I'm tired, I need to go home. But he still played them, and the last one clearly was unscripted, and he just came out and played some of the old classics on the keyboard. So I have a high standard there for encores. But we got Cure for Me, which was great, had some extra dancers on, Some Type of Skin, which is great. Interestingly, the only single that Aurora played off the most recent album, I think, because what were the other singles? They're all the first. So Echo of My Shadow, I think, is a single, isn't it? But that was removed for this broadcast. Yeah, and I can't remember what they're called now, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, Some Type of Skin, last one coming out there. Also, the visuals in the background for Cure for Me and Some Type of Skin were very stylistically different to the rest of the set, which I found a little odd. The Some Type of Skin one especially is like Aurora's wearing like a sun, like several different rays coming off her head, and it just looks very odd in comparison. Cure for Me I was more willing to accept, and also there was a nice little bit of choreography for Cure for Me, which I guess was lacking for the rest of the stuff. But that's not really a thing anyway, is it? And then Invisible Wounds to End, which I think was surprisingly effective. I'm not a massive fan of the song overall, although it is quite emotional, but it worked on the very low-key intimate scale, and then suddenly opening up to the bigger scale. And as they took their bows, there was a little place called the Moon, which is nice. It's nice. Yeah, I think she was on very good form. Her voice was really strong all the way through. So we had some real big shouts. What was it that had a shout in that I wasn't expecting? What was it? There was something. Oh, it was A Soul with No King. Yeah, no, it's because there's a shout in the background of A Soul with No King, but in this live version that was very much the foreground, and I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, cool, good stuff. Anyway, that's just a little bit of an intro to today's main thing. Aurora did not play. She only played one song from the original album, which was Runaway. I guess it's been a while of doing those songs anyway. But she did also not play Wisdom Cries. What a surprise, Wisdom Cries. But we're going to have a look at Wisdom Cries today and see if we can make head or tail of it. Well, what about Wisdom Cries? What do we know about it already? Well, 4/4 at least, that's something. 119 BPM, so just the tiniest bit slower than normal. C aeolian, C minor, okay. Do 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 do. G aeolian. Do 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 do. Very closely related keys, but G has an E flat. Do actually no. C has an E flat too. C has an A flat. Do, whereas G has an A. Do. Okay, so they're really similar. But G has that slight brightness change when the A flat changes to A, so bear that in mind. E flat Ionian as well. Now E flat Ionian is the relative major of C minor, or C aeolian. So they have all the same notes. It just starts on E flat. So instead of do 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 do, it's do 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 do. Okay. So lots of the same notes here, but with a slight change from A flat to A at some bits. Let's see if we can hear that going on. Let's go full stuff. Ooh, what have we got going down here? I have resorted to using words to explain what's going on in the music. Oh, okay. Don't desert me again. I hope that you could hear at least some of what I said then. This bleeding thing. Okay, let's try again. Oh, it looks like we're going to have some problems. Yeah. What was the problem there, eh? We started okay, and then you just decided to go off. We had some problems last stream as well. I might actually need to get a different box at this rate. This is untenable. So we're hearing that bum 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 bum. Do we hear any more? Then at 8 seconds we get the next bit. Dum, 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 dum. Now this is just a really low pitched percussion sound really, but it is vaguely close to a C in pitch there. Dum, 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 dum. And it's got this, yeah, dum, 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 dum. Now, it's a bit of a giveaway, but that isn't really our beat there. That's quite a fast beat if it was da, da. That's pretty fast. So that's not really our beat. When the piano comes in, that really shows us our beat. So let's listen a bit to the piano. Yeah, so the piano. It's a little bit irregular here. What I've got. Okay, and I don't think I've tried to explain every single moment of the piano. But that's the basic idea of what's going on. It's something around a C minor chord, but with those extra pentatonic notes. So in a minor, the pentatonic notes, we've got 1, 3, minor 3, and 5. And those make up that C minor chord. And we've also got 4, and we've also got 7. So 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. And basically those are the notes added here with an extra, which is the 2, which basically every second bar replaces that 1. So we go from being our sort of lowest note to being our lowest note in the second bar. Okay, but overall we're not getting a very clear change of harmony there. The main difference is that one note change. The other notes sort of stay the same. Maybe we get a few fewer E flats as well, because the 2 is really close to the E flat, the flat 3 there. So in order that they don't interfere with each other in this massive echo, avoiding those really close notes is probably what's intended here. Anyway, that means that we kind of get like a C minor to begin with and kind of get a G minor afterwards, but that's not, you know, it's individual notes being plucked out and none of them are staying perfectly with that chord. So that's kind of what we get. And what we get as well at the same time is this dum 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 dum. And what's kind of strange about it is that it has this phasing relationship with the piano. The piano is going at one speed, and the percussion is going at a different speed, dum 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 dum, and that's all together fine. And we could have that repeat in an equal place in the bar, so it could be going da 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 da, and then at the beginning dum 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 dum, 3 4 dum 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 dum. But that's not actually what happens. It comes slightly earlier each time. So if you can see here, it starts more or less when the piano starts, dum 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 dum. Well, 2 3 4 dum 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 dum, a little bit early, 2 3 4 dum 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 dum, a little bit earlier, 1 2 3 4, and then a little bit later, all of a sudden. Anyway, it's very irregular, this song. There's lots and lots of individual details that we could focus on, but they're not very important a lot of the time. But it's interesting to at the outset here, two things that are not in time with each other. Hey, did we get that note back? Nice. Oh, champion. We don't normally get muse score sounds back. Oh, I see why. It's because that's moved over to that again. Oh man, these audio issues. These audio issues. And we'll have lost it now. Oh no, we've still got it. Fantastic. Have we still got cobras? It looks like it. Alright, well, I'm happy with that. Yeah, so that's basically what's going on there, but it's so syrupy and there's such a lot of delay on that signal that it sounds like half of those things get in each other's way. Okay, well, that's kind of the beginning, and then yeah, Aurora's first two voices come in, two separate voices, and that's really key for this song. Generally, most parts have these two separate voices doing close things but different things. Here the coming in on the D, which is the second of the key, and then the coming in over the top on the C. So we get this kind of the unusual sort of seventh relationship between those. They're very far apart and not with a very consonant interval. And then we get that again on the next part. Let's hear some further. Yeah, so I hear a wee over the top, same two notes but now actually held at the same time. And again, they were the two notes that were different in the harmony. So we got the C in one bar and the D in one bar, but now they're being held together with the vocals. So we're really getting a blurring between those two chords, the G minor and the C minor. They're kind of, it's all just this big mash of pentatonic notes with, well, I guess with the added D, and the added D makes a big difference here, or at least it's very, very prominent. And then after that, this piano really becomes a big old mush as we go into our sort of next section of the beginning. And now we've lost muse score entirely. Well, I will persevere. It's just really hard to predict what's going to happen at the moment with these things. But yeah, basically the next part, we keep that sort of resonance going in the piano, but it becomes much less distinct at least to begin with. And shortly afterwards, we get a moving set of two voices. They're not just holding notes now, although they're not moving very fast. Let's have a listen to it. Yeah, it's cool. It's a really interesting set of things going on here. What I love is that the voices are close but just not the same. So the wee comes in just before the wee. They don't come in at the same time. It's just after each other, and then they move then to go at the same time after about 3 beats. We go, go, both of those at the same time. There we didn't have the C with the D, so we've got a little more C minor-y to begin with there, and then we go to the G and the D, which are more G minor-y. So we're separating the chords a little bit there, and then we go to a sort of a different one, and these work about as nice as anything's going to work in this song. Way back in, way back in. Right, they're just walking down in sixths. Sixths are inverted thirds, so this is really just nice stuff. And then time, time, separated again for that last note. Why? I don't know. I mean, having time and then time sort of emphasizes the flow of time, doesn't it? So, word painting to some degree. And then just this one line by itself. Through time and eyes. And then that second I comes in at the end. But interestingly, through diamond, just one voice. I would say having just one voice when you have had two for a while does add emphasis to the words as well. So we've emphasized time in one particular way, we've emphasized through diamond in another way, and then eyes, I guess, gets emphasized again. All these changes, I guess, is the main thing, isn't it? We're constantly changing the relationship between what's going on and what is not going on. Does that make sense? What do I really mean to say there? We're always changing the relationship between what is expected and what is actually happening, I suppose. And that also continues in this next section, which is kind of a repetition of the previous one. Let's hear it. Okay, so basically all the things we set up in the previous one don't occur this time. We go. Okay, we still get both those notes from the second voice, but we don't get the we go from the other one. So it's just one voice by itself, but then we do get running, two notes, the same two notes, just delayed quite a lot. They come straight after we go from the previous one, and we didn't have that word before, so that's odd. These now overlap just at the end. Go running, wee, and then they're both on unison there for a moment. Way back. We go a little higher for back this time. We don't go way back in. We certainly don't have the sixths. We get one, and then they come in both on E flats for back. So we get that really, really painful major seventh interval. and then we do get a sixth after that, and then time, actually they managed to lock in with this time, but one goes down in time while the other goes up in time. So really shifting a relationship in another way there. And that time, that's again sort of focused on a different chord to normal. It's not one of these G chords. That's really saying an F minor chord. Okay, so that's kind of our chord 4, but we've only got it from the voices there. Well, I guess we could say that the C that's going on bum 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 bum, and the change in that pitch of the percussion instrument does give us more of a 4 there, really. The percussion instrument is going a lot more intense on that second time round, as the piano is. The piano comes in with more of its goings on, you know, more doo-doo-doo-doo, this kind of thing. But yeah, that percussion instrument. Let's just listen again from about like 45. Dum dum dum. It sort of changes intensity or changes pitch. Dum dum dum. So it really is giving us a new chord. It's giving us that F minor chord. Dum 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 dum. And then through time and eyes, more of a line, more melismatic than the previous one, which had a little melisma. But this and eyes, 2 melismas on 2 different notes. Doesn't quite go as low. Different melody altogether, really. And finally, we're eventually no, we're not. There's no other voice comes in there, so that's just one long held voice there. And we do go back dum 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 on that percussion instrument too. Do 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 do. A bar of 2/4. It's hard to keep exact control over the time here. Sometimes we have something giving us clear, like that piano, but sometimes that disappears and then we're just awash in space. We have to be really keen on the metronome to kind of work out what's going on. So there's a chance that I have missed individual small moments of strangeness in the rhythm here. I've just tried to basically ignore that kind of thing and just keep to what I can understand. But if you have a better understanding of what's going on here, please do share it and let us all know. So this is now the B section. After all that, that's all our kind of intro. We're going to take a little bit of a different tack in this next section, which you could also see kind of analogous to a pre-chorus maybe.
Back to the start, back to we are back home.
Yeah, I haven't attempted to do the crack. It's basically down, seemingly down 2 octaves, isn't it? We've got and I think. I can't hold it. No, that's not it. But yeah, it's down about 2 octaves. Do do. Both of those notes being held in that scratchy, cracky tone. It's really cool. Really fun thing to do. But yeah, we've got more, I guess, of a formed rhythmic melody here. Da 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 da. Okay. A little pentatonic thing. Interesting how we've got 2 short notes followed by 2 long notes. That's unconventional but fun. And then we get a much faster one, and this is more of our 3s against 3-3-2 kind of thing. Back to the start, back to apart from that last bit, I guess. Yeah, it sort of loses a little bit of definition as soon as we get these slides. Back to the start, back to. But what's keeping that rhythm going is this this dum, 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 going in the background. It's not constant, and it does have a little bit of a different thing in the second bar there. Dum, 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 dum. More like an actual tresillo. Yeah, I guess it's a polyrhythm to some degree. Yeah, so here is our A natural on which is not in the C minor that we started with. Oh. It's not there, although we didn't really have much of one until time. Time gave us that A flat. Time through time and days. And then we went back to a C resonance. Really not with a lot of other stuff, but yeah, I guess the piano was giving us that stuff. Then we gotta go. It doesn't really show us that we've gone anywhere yet. So that note just suddenly opens up into a new tonality, into that brighter Dorian tonality of C minor. Is that where we are? Or is it this G that we rest on here? Back home. Well, the bass is really giving us a whole lot of C. So I would say we're still kind of in C here, maybe a C Dorian to some degree. Let's hear the next version.
We gotta go back to the start, back to we are back home.
Yeah, strange old bit. We've still got the same melody at the heart here. How it changes is that instead of quickly going back home, it's back home. So we slide up to finish on the C there, really reinforcing that C minor tonality, that C minor resting place. But we also stay on back for a little bit longer. So overall, a little bit of a different feel. But more importantly, that feel is changed by the harmony vocals here. And these are harmony vocals in some ways like classic Aurora harmony vocals, and in some way totally not. These first two, we get we gotta go. That's a little bit different to what we got in the melody there the first time, isn't it, actually? Because we got we gotta go the first time, but this is we gotta go. And that last note is really unexpected because it doesn't go at all with the higher harmony, which is we gotta go. So we get this moment where they're gotta go, where both of them hit like that. This really, really intense minor second interval. They're both fighting against each other, and they can't really even sustain it because one of them just disappears into the ether, leaving the other by itself. Because that kind of thing is hard on the ears. It's hard to actually perceive both clearly. They fight and they make this kind of beating. Can you hear that? We get slightly cleaner harmony after this, but it's still a little bit unusual. It starts nice. We get a nice big triad there. Then two of those parts move up by one, and the other moves up by two. So we don't just get back to the start, back to, which would be cool. We get back to the. Okay, so it's not super odd, and it kind of sounds quite interesting. And then that top one doesn't move while the others do. Okay. And then they all move up together, but they're stuck on this kind of sus or add to chord. So this is not gonna. Oh, that's a little odd. it's almost as if the lower two voices couldn't wait for the top voice, and the top voice couldn't get up fast enough. Because if we just correct that top voice, we do something like that, it kind of makes a lot of sense. And we'd end there, because the lower voice does actually go up one more. But yeah, we get these strange old chords. And yeah, with the gliss effects on here, it really doesn't sound great. But and with that bass, I guess it does kind of sound nice. So that all odd, but it's all in key, so that's nice. But then we get this ah, back home. Nice. The lower voice, 10 out of 10. Success. Makes sense. Is comfortable. But then, unfortunately, we have this higher voice at the same time. So we've got that A, and we've just had a few moments of really close harmony, and then we get one immediately here. Hello. God, this is infuriating. It's infuriating. What are we gonna do? Let's fix cobas again. Okay, let's hope that it'll stick. Yeah, we're not gonna get MuseScore back. But that's okay, because I can't show you these things on MuseScore anyway, because it's a voice going through all the analog changes. All the way to that strange D flat there, which we could call a C sharp, and that would kind of make sense of these two notes together. But then going from an A and a C sharp to an E flat and a B flat, that's some 21st century harmony for you. That's almost another world's chord change, which I am obsessed with. So yeah, it just slides through. Back, and then it does that strange jump. Sorry, not quite to there. Has that. Ooh, yeah, painful slide. Well, it slides just up to the E flat to begin with, and then that's kind of nice. Oh, that's not the harmony though that we want, is it? Oh yeah, it is. It's a C minor harmony that we end up with there, with yeah, lots and lots of dissonance. Oh, goodness me, then. Ah, did I lose it again? Goodness me, then. It's vaguely Dorian feeling, but the actual understanding of everything going on here is pretty difficult. The slides in particular are really putting us in an unconventional place that is to put a finger on. Eventually, in this next section, that becomes a. It brightens itself before sliding down. Let's hear that happen. That was it, but it was on speakers. Let's hear it on proper thing. There it is. And the slide down seems like it's occurring in a different place, which is pretty weird. Yeah, we get this oh, we're going over the top as well. Well, so we're clearly on C here, but we've got a new kind of instrument. Whoa, this kind of strange synth holding all these C's, and they build up and up and up and up. Lots and lots of C's. Let's just have a listen to the rest of the section. Yeah. So, pretty quiet section in comparison, pretty uneventful, but it's got those C's. Doo, doo, doo. And then slowly we get one more note. We get two notes. We get doo, and we get doo. So we get a B and an E flat. Now we've had these going up against each other sort of in the previous section. We gotta go. We've had both of those in that section, so they're coming back up again here, and then they both go up by one in the scale. So we keep the C's going on, and then we get this seventh interval changing, everything moving up one. It's a very strange way to do things. It does go from a slightly more dissonant interval to a slightly less dissonant interval, but it's still not anywhere we would expect. And yeah, we've got this mostly noteless tick-tocking going on over the top. Tick, tick, tock, tick, tock. Interesting how some of them though are voiced and some aren't. That's yeah, again, just playing with expectation in a really strange way. But when we get to this next bit, yeah, I mean, this is just some new material again, isn't it? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I'll go back a tiny bit. Yeah. So we end there again on the C's, which we just emerged from. But it takes us a bit of time, and we get this strange harmony. We keep the C in the harmony, but it goes towards this E flat major chord. That's really what's going on in the harmony. We've got E flat, no, A flat. Oh, did I say E flat? I meant A flat. An A flat major chord with an A flat in there, an E flat in there, a C in there, and then another A flat. Okay, so we've had A flats before, but this is definitely a new chord, and it has that C in the bass, so it feels very unresolved, very uncomfortable in a different kind of way to a lot of the things that have happened here, especially with our note over the top in the melody, which is a new note, extra note to the chord. It's the major 7 of the chord. It's the G. Now the G by itself is not an unusual note for the melody, but against the A flat it has that real spiciness. And then the melody here is really just giving us some more of the main 6 notes that we've been using so far. Specifically missing out that A flat, because we could have had where is the rain? Would have been quite a big rewrite, but if we went again, then we would have had a quick A flat. It wouldn't have been out of the realm of possibility, but we've avoided the A flat the whole way through here, really, just leaving it up to that chord, and then the second chord that we get here, which does change the bass from C to F, and then we get A flat, C, we still have E flat. So really this is just moving the bass to some degree. We keep that A flat chord, but we get the in the background, and we get an F minor 7 chord. Lots of the same notes in that, but a different bass note really gives it a different feeling, and it's a minor chord based on that bass note. And as well as that, we've got the melody. The melody initially gives us the E flat, but then it comes down. And that's a real money note there. Again, we've got a lot of the 2 and the flat 3 here, and they're both being used in the melody here, one in quick succession. That D really doesn't go with the chord in a conventional way. It makes it a minor 6 chord, I guess, or a minor 13 chord maybe. But yeah, strange kind of thing. And then by the time we get to 2 of Are We Meant To, we're back on the C's. So the melody there is just painting its own portrait. There's nothing really to fight against, though ending we go down on the D instead of the C, reinforcing that dichotomy, the C versus the D, the 1 versus the 2. Uncomfortable. You know, it could be we go down, or it could be we go down, or even we go down, and then things would be pretty comfortable and resolved. But we go down is leaving us in this stark, aggressive, kind of scary place, really. And then we have a brief bit of a fluttering of strange percussive sounds. Yeah. Dum dum. Mainly in this 1 2 3 1 2 3, or 3 3 2 3 3 2 kind of feel, but then it does kind of invert itself over the bar line there. No, it doesn't. Sorry, my mistake. We just have this one tied to itself. Dum 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 dum. Yeah, just going through different octaves with mostly those C's. Dum 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 dum. But then when we get to this next part, we have really changed. Let's hear a bit of it. Yeah, so it sounds actually very similar to our first section, doesn't it? The piano's back. Doing this kind of thing. But now it's up here. This kind of thing. Well, it's just a different key. It's in G minor instead of in C minor. So it has that extra brightness. Partly that's because it's higher, but also it's got
Emergency, emergency.
Yes, there we go. Bloody hell. I'm sorry about this. I am sorry about this. It's just unbelievable. And just unpredictable as well. Okay, so there we are. I really hope that you got what I just said. I'm not going to check the video to check. Emergency, emergency is our next bit. Let's hear it. Okay, let's go back a bit. Here we are. Yeah, so we really have three phrases here: lightning strikes, wisdom cries, emergency, emergency. And then we sort of get back to a repeat after that. So this is an unconventional length of repeats. It's an unconventional amount to have of different melodic parts. 3 is not normal. I guess 4 would be the most standard kind of thing. We have 2 that are very similar, and then I guess we kind of have 2 more with the emergency, emergency, but they're the same, aren't they? Emergency, emergency. And in fact they are the same, with 1 being a little bit longer at the end there. They go from nice sixths to octaves. Like that. Emergency, or emergency. Okay, they're not going very closely with the rhythm, which is an interesting feature of what's going on here. The 1, 2, 3, 4 emergent works fine, but then the C is always a little bit late. Emergency, emergency, and it sort of looks like it might be doing a 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3 kind of thing, but then it's repeated a little bit later in the bar after that, so it doesn't, if it is doing some clever clave there, it's actually cleverer than I can deal with. The bass keeps going down there, so we had lightning strikes, wisdom cries, emergency, emergency, and it keeps going down even after that. A little bit delayed though on this one, which is a really weird feeling. Let's hear the changeover. Yeah, so it waits till halfway through the bar to get down to that D. The piano's still doing its same thing it's been doing, but when conscience comes in with those two, the D and the G, that's when we finally move from the E flat, dun dun dun, conscience. So that almost feels like we've had a 2-beat bar there of the previous chord extra. But if we think of it that way, then conscience is coming in a little bit early, because look, lightning strikes has these 2 beats before it comes in. That's true here, but we didn't change the chord there. We didn't come in with the new chord early. So yeah, so it's an unconventional set of I guess we've talked about this with the structure to some degree, but the feeling of that extra that change being later here is again unseating, unsettling, and unexpected, even with material that is basically the same. This conscience on ice is basically lightning strikes. It's the same notes, a few more syllables, but that's nothing to write home about. And yeah, the only thing that's different then, other than that, about this repeat is that the bass is different. The bass note is different. So we had G at the beginning. Now this time around we've got D instead. So it gives this gives a slightly more unsettled feel, because it's not the root of the chord, it's the fifth, if you like. Let's keep going.
No one's surprised as modestly emergency, emergency, emergency.
And we quite satisfyingly have an extra set of emergencies on the end there, those fourth ones we didn't have the first time. No one's surprised. They should be, because instead of moving down, no one's surprised, which would be a repeat of what we had before, we stay at the same pitch, no one's surprised, and then we do this big seventh jump with the higher voice, and a fifth jump with the other one. No one's surprised. So the two voices really separate there. They get a lot further apart from each other, and they make an F chord, which works with the new bass note, because we've gone down from D to C. Okay, and we do that really on no ones. So this time it happens a little earlier than we would expect. We would expect no ones to be still on the D, but it's not. No ones. We get this kind of moment, and then interestingly, I've written 4 there, IV, but really this is more like a 7C here, a little more unconventional of a feeling thing. Maybe it feels more like 4 because of what's going on the piano. Maybe, but I can't see it because there's no E flats, so no, so it doesn't feel like a 4. And then we're in proper octaves to begin with. As modestly, emergency. Okay, modestly, a little bit earlier than the emergencies have been previous to this, and we keep moving down with the bass. So we go from the D to the C to a B flat, just moving all the way through the key, but modestly, emergency. And then we do have a brief moment of 2 in the second bar. Modestly, emergency, emergency, before we settle on that G for the final chord. And again, the piano goes a bit wonky. And then we get a few strange notes in the synth. Let's hear that. We also go off the octaves back to the sixths. Emergency, emergency. And this strange transition, full of noise and notes. The G, we're fine with that, and then that suddenly gains some extra notes, which we're sort of fine with, and then we get this absolutely bonkers set for this next moment. It's like that. Yeah. And we've got an E flat at the top as well. And then it sort of resolves into a B major chord. Let's hear it again, and I'll try and explain what's going on. Yeah, so we get this, yeah, so there's lots of strange things happening here, but the heart of it is this E flat here. We get this nice kind of heroic melody, da da da, and around it we just get this crunch of harmony as the harmony from the previous section sort of dissolves into this new section. Okay, so yeah, so what I've written here as the chord changes from a 4 in the minor to a sharp 3 in the minor. but really that doesn't make sense of what's going on over the bar here. Really what's going on is a sort of enharmonic change from this E flat to a D sharp, from a whole shift of the tonality. So going from more of a sort of C minor kind of place to a B major kind of place. That's really what's happening there. So big change. If we had a G in there, which we don't, it would fall to an F sharp. If we had a C, which we do in the bass, it would fall to a B, and that is what happens. It feels like sort of paint dripping down a window here, and leaving a trail behind it, but nonetheless making a very specific direction. And the one note we get in a little bit early is that B. So the B comes in while we've still got the C in the bass there. So really they're kind of fighting for ownership of this note. That sounds quite nice. That sounds quite nice too, but in a different way. And so having them both together means that we can't contextualize that at all in our ears. It doesn't make sense until that lower one gives way and then settles. That said, this isn't actually a settled chord. We've got a lot of things that do make sense. The B's and the D sharps work really nicely together. The one problem is we had an F in that previous chord, which stays weird. Between this chord and this chord, it's weird. It's weird either way. Just sticking out, making an unusual thing sound even more unusual. And as well as that, we get a B over the bar line, changes to an A sharp. So we get this big old complicated chord. Can I do that? No, I can't. I don't have enough frets. No, that's not quite it, is it? Come on, fingers, you can do this. Almost. That's a hard chord. Yeah, loads and loads of notes, but they are sort of adhering over the bar line to like a B major Lydian kind of thing. I know I didn't write that in the beginning, but that is kind of what that would be suggesting, that one particular chord there. And we get that note in the voice as well. But then things start to take a different shape. Because when we get back to Cries there, Cries, we're sort of back to a G minor kind of sound. So we just departed from a G minor sound, didn't we? How are we back there so soon? How has that happened? I don't know. It doesn't make sense, does it? Well, no, it doesn't make sense. And then, oh yeah, hang on. Oh no. This is an older, oh no it's not, I was missing a voice over the top. There we go. We get the two voices, great. Okay, I was worried that this was an older file that I had somehow unsaved. Yeah, so more free time here. This is not really just very straight wisdom cries, but that's kind of how I've written it. We get these very low voices, which I'm convinced are not actually Aurora, or if they are Aurora deliberately pitched down. Wisdom cries. And that's sort of giving us our bass notes for this, though they're still quite high. Around there. And they're in octaves. So we get wisdom cries. And at the same time as that we get wisdom cries. Sometimes with two notes there. The E flat and the D. again. You get it? Both of those things fighting each other in the eardrum. Anyway, it's kind of interesting how they're moving to begin with, because this goes up a fourth, wisdom, and this goes up a fourth, wisdom, kind of to a B flat major there, but we settle on that G minor. I think we've got an extra A in the chord as well. It's giving us a little more complexity, a little more weirdness. Yeah, there really is no conventional way of thinking how this goes back to that. It's two very, very different modes of musical harmony. You could think of it, if you like, as a B major going to a G minor, and that's a tertiary shift, and one of the biggest changes really that you can do in music, because B major, if you think of the notes that are in B major and you think of the notes that are in G minor, they really have very little in common. What do they have in common? They have an enharmonic equivalent, so they have D sharp and E flat, like I was talking about, how one of those wants the E flat and one of them wants the D sharp, okay? But they're the same note, so it does have that in common, and that's it. This is kind of more of a Lydian B though, so we do have da 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 da. We have one more note in common than normal, but it doesn't make it any more comfortable as a change between those two chords. Yeah, it's very unusual, very unusual. But at least the chords are keeping themselves to themselves now, and they're not spreading over together, if you get what I'm saying. Let's hear the next one. Very similar, isn't it? Yeah, with an added C. Let's add that in, because I missed that somehow. But yeah, very similar. The bass is almost the same. Wisdom cries. This time though, now it goes down to an F instead of a G. And we also get cries over the top, so that's the same as it was before. So we've got those two notes, doubled in the octave, and then we also get, shortly after they settle, cries, we get an extra voice. So yeah, so we get to make that kind of thing. What is that? It's hard to describe, but with the added C, I don't know, it's kind of like a B flat chord and an A flat chord at the same time. Oh, and then I've also got a D flat in the bass there. Let's hear if that comes. Yeah, so D flat in the bass, that's another new thing. So no. But that recontextualizes the chord, yeah, as a D flat add 6, I guess, major 7 with that added C. So there's lots of things going on there. None of these chords feel like they are chosen for the harmonic relationship that they have to the previous one. They all feel like individual blocks of sound in a similar way to how this piece feels very linear altogether and doesn't have a lot of repetition, or at least between sections doesn't have much coherence, much connection between sections. There are individual bits that feel like they are repeated, but yeah, same thing here. So each of these chords feels like an island by itself. They have the connecting tissue of wisdom and wisdom, but whatever happens after that is really a unique thing not something we can easily explain the function of, especially because it's so different to our grounding. Everything else Aurora has done has had pretty straightforward motives. It's led somewhere specific, but in this song that doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah, similar kind of thing here. This lands on quite a nice E flat major chord. Cries, 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 cries. And then we get this G bubbling up in the bottom. We also go a little bit higher than normal, wisdom cries, and come down from that F. So slightly different shape, though the bass movement, wisdom cries, is still the same. There. Next one. That's a weird one. It starts pretty comfortable. Wisdom cries all the way back down from that top note, and yeah, we really feel like we hit a B flat major chord there for a moment, and then it feels like, yeah, we get, well, do we get a G minor? Sort of. Boom. With that, it feels like an E flat major for a moment, but then that descends to a D. It sort of feels like they're fighting each other in the bass, that E flat and D, the old enemies that have been plaguing this whole one, while these guys sit over the top. And then they slide up by a semi, well, do they know? One slides up by a semitone, that top one, cries, while the bottom one, so they're there, cries. So we get this strange relationship, and I've written it as A natural and C flat, but that doesn't make much harmonic sense. It's more like that, so we get an A and a B. We've not had B's really at all here, except in that one where we had the A and then we had the where we slid all the way past. So that's a weird thing to suddenly get to. Yeah, like I got here, we've got this fight between G and B flat. Well, maybe not a fight, but they're both wood. And the E flat seems to have taken control of the lower part, and we've got the E flat there. And that E flat and the G and the B flat make a lot of sense by themselves, nice and comfortable, but with the B over the top and the A, things are not as straightforward. Like if we have do do do, that's great. Now if we add a B to that, okay, and I'll sing the other one. Yeah, that's again something that's basically inexplicable by conventional harmonic terms. You could say that it has a sharp 11 and a flat 13, but at that point you're just trying to explain away what is important, which is that it is very dissonant. It feels like at least two separate motives going on at the same time. Okay, next one. Well, that one sounded pretty sweet, didn't it? Doesn't feel like we've got the E flat carrying on in the background, really. Wisdom cries, wisdom cries. That slightly lower note here, being the top one, makes it feel a little more poignant, I think, when it doesn't go wisdom cries. This strong jump of the fourth. Wisdom cries feels a lot softer. And they're singing softer as well, which helps, and they get to that G minor dyad there, which is nice. One voice carries on, not all of them. It's kind of dying away, isn't it? And then we get this last one. And we couldn't have something straightforward, could we, to finish? The bass one disappears. We get the one which is an octave high on the bass, whiz, but then we don't get a dum, but we do get the other one, whiz, very, very softly, and then 2 extra voices, dum, or dum. Yeah, I've written a half flat there for that one, because it really doesn't sit nicely. It doesn't feel in tune. Or maybe it's a 3/4 flat, is it? I think it might be a 3/4 flat. Yeah. No, it's a half flat. It's a half flat because it's closer to E. That makes sense. Yeah, so we're really getting into non-conventional pitch there, as we were doing with the slides earlier, but this is the first moment where there's no real way I can express it on the paper except by saying that it's half flat. What does that mean? I mean, we don't have theory to go with it, or at least nothing that is conventionally accepted as fundamentally true. Like all theory is. Theory is accepted as fundamentally true amongst many people, probably wrongly. But anyway, the point is here, it's slightly higher than we would expect it to be, and it's not as high as any other note that we would expect it to be. So it's in this uncomfortable middle ground where at least a Western expectation goes, that doesn't quite sound right. It sounds, to me, if I think phenomenologically about the feeling of the sound of that note, it feels very vulnerable, and it feels almost like an accident, almost like you're scared and you let out a note by accident, and then the monster comes and eats you, or something like that. That's how it feels to me. And then we do kind of get a nice resolution for a moment there. Cries, cries. So it's almost like a B flat major chord, which is not something we've really had much of an inkling of coming around the corner here in the rest of this piece. And then that lower voice, along with the sort of organy sound in the background, moves up to an F sharp. There we get a B flat augmented chord. Then we kind of get this G minor chord after that. One, it ascends into the heavens, which is fun. Yeah, and then it keeps on going. Let's hear the rest of it. Yeah. So that, in this final section, we've just got some new material, of course. That relationship between the G minor and that B flat augmented chord there. Augmented being the fourth of the standard chord shapes. We have major, we have minor, we have diminished, and we have augmented. Both diminished and augmented, they feel pretty uncomfortable, but augmented generally feels very pushy, whereas diminished might just feel like a nasty dissonance that we're sat on. Oh, that's not diminished, is it? Yes, it is. Okay. Augmented's like, go somewhere, do something. And so this ending then on that diminished chord feels pretty fun. But that's not all the notes that are going on there. We have do an E flat that comes in. Ah, yes, okay, it comes in on that G chord, making it more of like a G minor. No, sorry, G major 7 kind of feel. And then that sort of feels like a minor chord with a major 7. rather than an augmented chord. And then we get these two fighty noises on a B flat and a C, just going. What to make of all that, I don't know. We get the same kind of thing then afterwards. And then, according to me, we've got we've got a D, an E flat, a G, a C, an F sharp and a B flat in that chord. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different notes, making up that final resonance, everything jarring with itself. Let's hear it. So in the bottom realm there, doo doo, both of those, doo doo, F sharp and G fighting against each other, E flat and D fighting against each other, and I guess B flat and C, they're only a tone apart, so I guess they can exist in comparative ease. What an unusual piece of music this is. This feels like an experimental canvas, a mood board, an expressionist piece to some degree, although it's definitely got a lot more form than you would expect from any expressionist work. It's hard to pin down, and it's not without merit, but I'm sure it's basically no one's favourite. Tell me what your experience is with this song, because I'm interested in how other people perceive it. It doesn't allow for easy digestion. It's taken us a long time to get through that, so we won't be doing Queendom tonight. We'll start that another day. But yeah, let me know what you think about this one. Let's have a look at these top tens. Let's get something scribbled in. So instrumentation, I think, is a wash. We don't have very much instrumentation here. While some of the sounds are cool, I don't think we can put it on for instrumentation. Texture. Some of the textures are really interesting, but they are so aggressive and in your face. That said, Through the Eyes of a Child textures, I mean, they're just vocal textures, aren't they? And while some of them are really lush and enjoyable, I think really we are something better than that with this. Are we better than Under the Stars texturally? I wouldn't say so. It's down to individual taste, that, but we're going to put them in, put this guy on in position 10 there. Structure wise though, I mean, that's where we're not moving, isn't it? This is hard to say is the best structure, but it's certainly the most interesting structure. So we are putting it higher than everything where we can't say that is explicitly good. Murder Song structure I can say is explicitly good because of the way that the two melodies come together in the final section. That's really cool. Water Lilies, you know what? Can we say that structure is explicitly amazing? I don't think we can. So I think that's where we have to put it, because it's more interesting than Water Lilies structure, and I can't come up with a reason why Water Lilies' structure is better. So that's where Wisdom Cries is going. Number 2. It's going to be on for a while. Harmony. So the harmony is way beyond all of the other songs in complexity. In function, it's actually doing much less than in many of the other songs. We've got Some conventional things. We've got that moving bass line going dum 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 all the way through one of those sections. We've got dum 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 sometimes, and we've got the the motivic pedal of the piano doing that kind of thing. So from an elements perspective, it's not actually doing as much as quite a lot of these, but nonetheless it's much more adventurous in every section, but especially in that final section we get lots of unusual things. So it feels wrong not to give it the first place for harmony. Like, if I were to give it first place, it wouldn't be because I enjoy it the most, it would just be because there's so much going on. Is that what I'm trying to get here, or am I trying to actually say what I enjoy most? That's something I'm struggling with. I'm definitely putting it higher than Home. Murder Song does have some interesting things going on. Black Water Lilies has the one amazing bit. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's put it top. Like I say, it is no one's top. It is no one's favourite song by Aurora, apart from try-hard classical music people, maybe. Melody-wise, there are some cool bits of melody. I really like that. But we're in a tough category here. I think we can probably shove off Warrior. Yeah, I'm tempted to put it higher than Home as well, because Home's melody is occasionally good, but also much more conventional. I'm not putting it higher than Winterbird's melody though, because that is catchy as anything. Rhythm, again, we've got sort of some complex rhythmic features. The way things phase out in that first section, they phase between being in time and not, but it's not as varied as many Aurora songs. Don't think we can give it a high place, if any place. Can we put it higher than Black Water Lilies? What rhythm does Black Water Lilies have? It doesn't have much rhythm. I think we can knock that one off. What interesting rhythms do we have? Inboxes have some interesting rhythms, so let's put it. Yeah. I see why Through the Eyes of a Child is on here. Fine. Let's put it just above Conqueror in terms of rhythm. No, we can't do that. That's Conqueror's only saving grace, is its rhythm. Winterbird. Sorry, yeah, you've got some really cool things going on, but rhythm is not one of them, so we'll move you down. We'll make you a bit bigger so you cover up all of Black Wives' latter, and then we will fill these things. Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da. And what colour do we think is Wisdom Cries? I think it's probably this kind of strange lavender, isn't it? That's going to be a bit too big a brush. Let's make it a bit smaller. Wisdom Cries. Hey, I'm sure someone knows, when was the last time, if any, that Aurora performed Wisdom Cries live? I'd be very interested to hear she actually had. I imagine she hasn't, because it's one of these things like Bohemian Rhapsody where performing it live requires you to come up with a lot of new plans for how to stage things. And while Aurora and Fredrik Svabo, who I understand is her music choreographer or whatever. They come up with some good workarounds for difficult things in the studio recordings of her songs. They might struggle with finding a way of doing Wisdom Cries live. Okay, well, there we go. That's the one for today. Yeah, go and see What Happened to the Earth if you can. It was a very brief run in the UK. I think it's mostly over by next week. But yeah, it was enjoyable. It was a good concert. She's got her hands more under control than she used to, hasn't she? Which is probably good. Maybe less exciting. And she still does lots of things with them, so yeah. But that's good. Wisdom Cries is very interesting and has done remarkably well on the top 10s. And yeah, I'll see you for the next album next time. Have a good day and a good life and a good ice cream or a biscuit, whatever you feel like.